All right, guys, back here at Laguna Seca with Lightspeed Track Events, reviewing this GT4 RS. The owner, Michael, has done a few mods to it: front and rear camber plates, front extended tie rods, rear toe links, DSC controller for the stock suspension, Dundon headers with a stock muffler, 19-inch Apex EC7 RS with Hoosier Track Attack Pros. 265 in the front, 305 in the back. Let's see how this drives at Laguna Seca. I've never driven a GT4 RS on one of my home tracks, so I'm very excited to see what this thing can do in just one session. Mod list is in the video description. Also check out Lightspeed Track Events. I'll put a custom promo code to save you $25 on your next event. track, a track that I'm fairly comfortable with, there are some very clear pros and cons to this car. Compared to a GT3, I absolutely love the mid-engine balance. The way this car just feels like it wants to turn, whereas the GT3 sometimes can feel resistant to turn on initial turn-in. This car has significantly less traction though coming out of corners. It's more willing to power oversteer if you're very aggressive on the throttle. That being said, it's also very prone to mid-corner understeer. I felt it in many corners, especially turn 3. The car just pushes when you feed the throttle on exit, strut front and rear, whereas a 992 GT3 has double wishbones. It's so clear how Porsche specifically held the Cayman platform back, even though in theory it has the GT3 engine, it weighs about the same as the GT3, it has a bit less aero, but not that much less. But the big difference comes down to the suspension geometry. This car understeers on throttle, but then when you get it past a certain point, you can easily overpower the rear tires. Every corner, mid-corner to exit, it's just about your patience getting back on the throttle. And that does make it quite fun to drive, challenging to drive, but at the same time, it can be frustrating if you're used to the pointiness of a GT3, especially a 992. The engine is phenomenal, one of the best engines of any road car ever. The transmission, the 7-speed PDK, totally faultless, super quick shifts. The AP Racing brakes, I forgot to mention, this car has aftermarket brakes. They also feel excellent, although there's a little bit of vibration in that brake pedal. I'm sure the car is capable of much quicker, maybe a 32, but with just one session and some traffic, I'm actually pretty happy with a 37 flat. That's not my quickest time at Laguna ever. I have done faster in a modified Supra, but this car is definitely a lot more capable. The grip levels are actually insane, especially with the Hoosier Track Attack Pros and the custom alignment. It's just that when you're on the very limit, on the edge, mid-corner, you do have to be very precise with your throttle control to not induce understeer and not induce oversteer when you try to correct the understeer. It's definitely a balancing act. I think compared to the 991.2 GT3 I drove here last time, which is a manual car, outside of the manual transmission, that car was slightly easier to drive because it didn't have as much of a tendency to push. So big shout out to the owner, Michael. Let me know what you think about the GT4 RS as a track platform. Do you think this is actually the better way to go for track days versus, let's say, a 991.2 GT3 for about the same money, close to $200,000? Or should you pony up and just get a 992 GT3? Thank you all as always for watching. Shout out to Lightspeed once again, and I'll see you very soon.